Welcome back guys to Voicey here and another r/entitled parents. Dogs are man's best friend, but they are far from an entitled parent's best friend. Especially this entitled parent that wants its owner to put their dog down, even though it's just a 9-week-old puppy. But it's what she does next that is unforgivable. Don't forget Voicey veterans to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story was called, Kill Your Dog Before It Gets Bigger, or I'll Do It. Hi everyone. So just yesterday my grandma and brother were out and stopped by a pet store, where they saw a boxer Labrador puppy that had the exact same markings of a boxer my grandma had when she was younger, with the snout, or snooter as I like to call it, of a lab that we had when I was around 8 to 12. After a bit of begging to my mum, I received a call from my brother saying we're getting a new dog, which was incredibly random. So they brought him home and I immediately fell in love, even after he crapped all over the floor 5 minutes after being in the house. He's about 9 weeks old and is about the same size as our Boston Terrier, Cookie, who has fully grown. To put it simply, he's gonna be a big boy pretty soon. After a few hours of trying to decide names, I wanted to name him Tyson because of Mike Tyson, and Dobby because of his ears. Then I thought about the correlation of Mike Tyson and ears, and decided to stay clear of either of them, despite his newfound obsession with carrying socks in his mouth. My mum came home and we decided on the name Kobe. We took him to the vet today because we thought he had some problems with his hearing, and he unfortunately had fleas, so we had to get him treatment for that. Now, Kobe is kinda overly playful when he wants to be, not rough or anything, but he started chewing things. Not just toys, but shoelaces and cords and stuff. We're discouraging this kind of behavior, but we've only had him for a day now, and these things take time. My mum and I were sitting in the vet's office. I'm holding Kobe while he licks my face, and I get that wonderful whiff of puppy breath that smells like freshly licked butt and burnt popcorn. We've had our other dog, Cookie, for about 6 years, and a game we play with her is, since she had a rather smushy face, putting her nose gently between our index and middle fingers and saying we're gonna pinch it off. She loves it and is always in the mood to play. So I tried it with Kobe, who had a much longer snooter. So do the same thing as I do with Cookie, giving the classic banter of, I got your nose, it's my nose now. And while Kobe's loving it just as much as Cookie does, he's still a puppy, so he doesn't really hold back. He puts my knuckles in his mouth and starts chewing on them. Not hard, just playful nibbles. But as I said, I want to train him to stop this before he's fully grown, and playful nibbles start hurting a lot more. So I do what I usually do, telling him no chewing, be gentle, etc. And he stops and goes back to licking my face. While this went on, EM and EK were sitting with their miniature dog that looked like Rufus the naked mole rat at a furry convention. Little freaking gremlin wouldn't stop yipping whenever someone passed by it. Eventually my mum takes Kobe into the vet's office and I'm stuck there in the waiting room alone with 2 entitled people and the only dog I ever have or ever will dislike. Excuse me? I turn to face her. Yeah, what's up? You're putting it down, right? No, he's 9 weeks old. He's just here for a little checkup. What? I saw how vicious he was. He was biting you. No, he was just getting a little overly playful. Though I understand your concern, I'm working on teaching him not to nibble when he gets bigger. You mean it's going to get bigger? What if it attacks my baby or another person? Yeah, he's gonna get a lot bigger. But don't worry, he's not an aggressive dog, he's just a puppy. No, I want that thing put down right now. After repetitive, senseless arguing, my mum comes out with Kobe, and after the most obvious ear whispering I've ever seen, EK lets out a shriek that gave me flashbacks to that lemon guy from Adventure Time. Make that mean dog go! EM marches up to the vet. I demand that you put that vicious mutt down right now. Ma'am, I'm not gonna put down a dog that's shown no signs of harming anyone, aside from a little bad breath. You got your face licked too, huh? Sure did. Don't you ignore me. If you won't put him down, I will. EM then went over to Kobe, a small 9-week-old puppy, and kicked him. I'm not a violent person, but I snapped on her. As soon as she kicked Kobe, I tackled her to the ground and held her there, with her screaming like a banshee. "Help, help!" It wasn't long before more security was called and they took her from there. The vet gave Kobe another look over and said he would be fine. Nothing bad happened aside from the initial pain of the kick, but he did get loads of treats afterwards for taking the force of Jabba the Hutt's fatter sister like a champ. There are some people in this world that are literally psychopaths. They do not care about your welfare, and they definitely don't care about the welfare of your pets. If someone started screaming at you at a vet that you need to put your dog down, you wouldn't really take the threat very seriously. You'd just be like, okay, who are you? So anyway, I'm glad that they had good reaction time because you wouldn't be expecting them to come over and kick your dog. This story was called, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to take orders from disgruntled soccer mums." So I work for a sanitation company and clean outhouses for a living. 99% of what I do is service units in the nearby mines, and so I rarely interact with people. And since honey wagons are often loaded to the rim with crap, people don't exactly approach my truck. It always throws me off when someone walks up to me while I'm cleaning an outhouse. Now, occasionally I do some in-town stuff, but usually just deliveries. Seldom do I go en route to town. One day though, I'm asked to deliver some units to a sports field, and I go around setting them up, getting them ready and making them all pretty and crap for whatever is going on. Baseball game apparently. I get a call from my boss asking if I can hang out a bit, because they need an extra truck for another project, and he wants me to hang out for someone to show up and lead me to the location. While I'm waiting, this happens. In the cast is me, entitled mum, supervisor, and customer. "Yeah, supervisor, I'll hang out for a couple of hours."
"Excuse me, sir, can you move that outhouse?"
"Hang on, supervisor, someone's asking me something." "What's wrong, ma'am?"
"The outhouse is in the way. Nothing is supposed to be an eyesight for the kids."
I just set them up where I was told to. I can't just..."
"Oh, you won't tell anyone? How hard can it be to move a couple of units?"
"I don't think you understand. Those each weigh 500 pounds and..."
"Oh, I can recruit some help. We just need to move before we start the game."
"Let me call my supervisor and see what he says." "Tell her no. That's not our problem. The customer told us to put him where we did."
"Oh, this just has to be a huge mistake. Let me call the customer."
Somewhat heated argument over the phone. I don't know what they were saying.
"He said to move them."
After spending 30 minutes of moving the units. "Hey, why are you moving the units?" Me, very confused. "I thought you approved it." No, who told you that?" "The lady over there." "Of course she did. Go ahead and put those units back so they don't get run over." "I'll have a word with her." Another comical argument from afar I didn't get to hear. About an hour later. "Hey, I just got a call from customer. The units you set up got hit by a truck. Where did you put them?" "Against the fence? How did they were on the road. The customer said he told you to move them back against the fence." "I did. Some soccer mom tricked me and then I had to put them back and..." "Blonde with leather jacket? This has happened before, hasn't it?" "I'll call the customer and see if we can find out what happened. You promise you put the units against the fence?" After that, I got word from supervisor that the soccer mom apparently got some guys to help drag the movements into the road, where they promptly got run over, and then tried to throw us under the bus and tell the customer I just got lazy and didn't want to move them. But fortunately, those units all have probes in them, so we can track them. And so we know the units got magically moved after I drove away. So yeah, there's the bullcrap I had to deal with. Soccer mums like that think they rule the world. And they'll do anything it takes to shape the world into their image. No regard for the fact that the customer had to pay to have them moved in the place that they wanted, or the risk of the damage done to them if moving them onto the road. Perhaps, just maybe, there's a reason they're not listening to your oh so wise advice. This story was called EM. $10 for 9 hours of babysitting is more than generous. Some context. I'm a 20-year-old female, and my babysitting job started at 18 in high school. Actually, it started as a tutoring job. My mum asked me if I could tutor a colleague in English, since I had just passed my Cambridge Advanced, and she needed to get better to reapply for jobs after she had been made redundant from her old one. Sure, no problem. I took about $20 a session. 20 for private tutoring for 2 hours isn't much, but we only had 2 sessions before she asked if I could babysit her daughter, just once because she needed to take an extra shift. I mean, okay, sure. She gave me $25 for 5 hours of babysitting. and the kid was asleep 3 hours of them. So, easy money. She even gave me permission to rob her fridge, and she gave me the Wi-Fi password. Her kid was a bit entitled, sure, but I guess every only child with such a mum is. So it was $25 the evening, and she asked me 3 more times within 2 months. Not bad. Mostly weekdays from 5 PM to 10 PM. I only lived 5 minutes away from her, so I didn't mind, even though it was on weekdays. She then came to me and told me a sob story about how money was tight and her work at the restaurant wasn't bringing too much money, and I was really understanding. So I got 15 an evening. Still okay-ish, considering her 7-year-old kid was going to bed early. Before I could really grasp it, I was babysitting 5 days a week, every time but on weekends or when I had an important thing like a wedding on. Then I babysat the weekends too. Then $15 turned into 10. It was horrible. I was in the middle of studying for my finals and my girlfriend was complaining we didn't spend much time anymore, which was true. Everything in my life suddenly revolved around that kid. I literally dreamed of that kid. When I told the mum I really couldn't take care of her daughter that day because I was exhausted, she came with the same sob story of how money was tight, and honestly, she always said thank you after sitting, so I kinda fell for that cheap trick. One day she asked me if I could only put some laundry into her washing machine. She'd do the rest. She just wanted it to be ready when she came home. I mean, hey, just 20 seconds, right? This went on for a year. I graduated and started an internship. I started at 7 AM and could leave at 4 PM, and she still asked me to babysit. Being the naive person I am, I said yes. The chores doubled and doubled until I had to cook for the kid, entertain her, and put her to bed in time. Then do her housework, make sure everything was clean, etc. Sometimes she told me she'd be home at 8 PM, and she showed up at 2 AM. Basically, it was screwing with everything in my life. In the end, my girlfriend even had to come to that kid so we could spend a bit of time together. I was basically parenting a 7-year-old who wasn't mine. Every time I told her it was too much, she kept begging and like, yeah, okay, I got it. Money was tight, so I just kept going until she found a new job finally. Then, the biological father of the kid turned up once. They are divorced and he lives an hour away, but picks her up on the weekends. He asked me if I felt nice with the raise. I was like, what raise? Turns out that the mum asked him every week for $300 so she could afford me. Yesterday, she asked for $350. He paid, I didn't get anything. That, insert not so nice word, spent everything for herself and just assumed no one would notice. When I confronted her, she said, $10 is more than generous for an evening. I remind you, sometimes it was up to 9 hours. Lady, normal babysitters demand $6 an hour at least. I told her then, if this was so generous, she could surely find someone else, and left. Never talked to her again. Still feel bad for the kid though. Do you know what I would have done? I would have called her out on it. You've been getting all this extra cash from the dad that you said was going to me. You've been lying to him and basically committing fraud. He's been giving you money under false pretenses. You owe me that money. The only reason I agreed not to do it is because you said you didn't have the money. Entitled parents love taking advantage of pushovers. So if you're dealing with an EP, don't let yourself become the victim. This story was called Entitled Dad Wants Me to Repent from Tourette's Syndrome. Hi everyone, this is a bit of a milder case, but I still feel like it belongs here. So to set the scene, my dad and I are at a sandwich shop that starts with a D and sort of sounds like Michelangelo. It's kind of loud in the shop while we're waiting for our order, and I get stressed out by noise. I feel a tick coming on and I don't really have to fully stop it. I jerk my neck to the side a few times and say, but quickly and quietly because I've gotten better at controlling them, especially the more embarrassing ones. Enter entitled father. He was close to us and had already paid for their sandwiches. They were filling up the sodas and getting ready to leave. He was very religious. I know because he had a Bible verse on his shirt, and turned around. He has a maybe 8-year-old kid next to him. The kid looks fine. We'll call him AK for annoying kid.
Stop that! You're scaring my son!
AK did not look scared or even bothered. Stop what?
Your movement and sounds!
Oh, her tics?
Her bugs!
Surprisingly, I get that a lot. No, I don't have any bugs. EF pulls his son closer as if my bugs are going to spread. No, my daughter has a condition called My dad is interrupted when I tick again from the stress of the situation. I hate it when people judge me.
Look at her, she's possessed!
Let me explain.
I recommend you talk to a priest about this.
Sir, she has a medical condition called Tourette's syndrome. I don't know what to feel. This is partially funny, embarrassing, and kinda scary. People judging me is one of my worst anxieties.
Oh, it's a disease? Is it contagious?
Not at all. It's a brain condition and it's not even that bad.
That makes more sense. Can I pray for her?
AK grabs the sandwich bag and tugs on his dad's sleeve. They've had their sandwiches and sodas paid, and on the counter for 3 or so minutes now. Poor kid, all he wanted was a sandwich. If you want to, go ahead.
Thank you, I certainly will. Have a lovely day and may the Lord be with you.
He picks up his stuff and walks out. My dad is holding back chuckles. Again, I don't know what to feel. That was partially one of the funniest experiences of my life, a bit humiliating and anxiety-inducing. It was also extremely awkward, while I was just in the corner by the soda machine watching this happen. I honestly wish I recorded it. I totally understand when I have to explain my condition to people, and usually they get it, but that's the weirdest response I've ever gotten. If you want to pray for someone because they have a condition, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the sentiment is actually nice. It's saying that you care about them, at least in most cases, unless it's like a passive-aggressive, I'll pray for you. But I think perhaps next time more sensitivity is needed in these cases. Calling someone demon-possessed in a sandwich shop is not the way that usually people want to start their day. Post your stories, memes, and fan art at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.